Something interesting has happened over the past few years. A term that used to describe a very specific personality type has turned into the most popular label on the internet. Everyone's a Sigma male now. Your coworker who keeps to himself, Sigma male. Your nephew who wears black hoodies, Sigma male. That guy at the gym who works out alone with headphones on, definitely a Sigma male. The problem is that this personality type has been glorified beyond recognition. It's been turned into this image of the mysterious lone wolf who's too smart for the system, too deep for shallow connections, too independent to need anyone. So naturally, everyone who's socially awkward or doesn't fit in has decided they must be Sigma. It's easier to claim you're choosing to be alone than to admit you're struggling with connection. But being Sigma isn't all mysterious and cool. It's not about being better than others or having it all figured out. It comes with its own set of challenges and downsides that nobody wants to talk about. The glorified version on the internet is nothing like the reality of actually operating that way. So let's talk about what's really going on here, and we'll start with one of the most obvious signs. The introvert label confusion. The biggest mix-up happens right here. Someone discovers they're an introvert, reads about Sigma males, and thinks they've found their identity. Both prefer solitude, both avoid crowds, and both operate differently. So they must be the same, right? Wrong. This confusion is why half the internet thinks they're Sigma. A Sigma male can be an introvert. He can get drained by social interaction and needs time alone. Those traits don't make you Sigma. They're just personality characteristics anyone can have. What separates them is this. An introvert operates within the social framework. They care about acceptance and balance. They worry about what their boss thinks. They like to keep things smooth with colleagues. The social structure matters to them. They just need breaks from it. A Sigma doesn't base decisions on social structures. He's not trying to impress anyone. He's not climbing ladders to prove something to others. He makes choices based on what serves his goals, not on maintaining position in the hierarchy. This doesn't mean a Sigma would refuse a promotion just because it moves him up. If it serves his purpose, gives more autonomy or better pay, he'll take it. If it's just a title with politics he doesn't care about, he'll pass. The decision isn't about social position, it's about actual benefit. The confusion exists because, on the surface, they often look the same. Both might skip parties, work alone, or keep a small circle. But the why behind those actions is completely different. The introvert avoids overstimulation and seeks comfort in familiarity. The Sigma male avoids conformity and seeks alignment with his own direction. His choices aren't about escaping people, they're about staying true to himself. But somehow, the internet turned even silence into a personality trait. The quiet guy misconception. Being quiet doesn't make you Sigma. Sometimes being quiet just means you don't have anything to say, or you're tired, or you're thinking about what you're having for dinner. Not every moment of silence is some calculated power move. Now, Sigma males can be quiet. They often are. But the reason matters. A Sigma male is quiet because he doesn't feel the need to fill silence with noise. He's comfortable just existing without performing for others. He speaks when he has something worth saying, not to maintain social flow or make others comfortable. Compare that to the guy who's quiet because he's anxious about saying the wrong thing, or the guy who stays silent because he's trying to seem mysterious and interesting, or the guy who doesn't talk because he's overthinking every possible response. That's not Sigma behavior, that's social anxiety or insecurity dressed up with a better label. The real issue here is that people have started confusing being quiet with being deep. They think that if they just stay silent in conversations and give short answers, people will assume they're mysterious and fascinating. But most of the time, people just think you're either bored, rude, or not paying attention. A Sigma male's silence comes from a place of true indifference to social expectations. Most men's silence comes from caring too much about them. One is freedom, the other is fear. They might look the same from the outside, but they feel completely different from the inside. Yet somehow, people decided there's one quick way to prove you're a Sigma. Wear black. The black clothing phenomenon. Wearing black does not make you a Sigma male. It makes you someone who owns black clothes. That's it. But somewhere in the past few years, wearing dark colors became this supposed signal that you're deep, mysterious, and operating on a different level than everyone else. Now, a Sigma male might wear black. He might prefer darker colors because they're practical, don't show dirt, and don't draw attention. But here's the key difference. He's not wearing black to send a message. He's wearing it because it's functional, and he doesn't care about impressing anyone with his wardrobe choices. The guys claiming Sigma status because of their wardrobe are doing the exact opposite. They're carefully selecting black clothes specifically to project an image. They're thinking about how they look to others. They're using clothing as a form of communication with the social world around them. That's the opposite of Sigma behavior. Real Sigma males aren't walking around trying to look like Sigma males. They're not thinking about their outfit in terms of what social message it sends. They're wearing whatever works and moving on with their day. The irony is that the more someone tries to look like a Sigma male, the less he probably is one. Because trying to look a certain way to others means you care about how others perceive you. But here we are, with entire online communities dedicated to teaching men how to dress like a Sigma, how to stand like a Sigma, how to order coffee like a Sigma. It's become a costume instead of just being a way some people naturally move through life. And nothing completes that costume like the attitude that comes with it, pretending you don't need anyone. The "I don't need anyone" facade. This is probably the biggest misunderstanding of the whole Sigma male thing. People think it means you don't need other people at all. That you're this completely self-sufficient lone wolf who thrives in total isolation. And then they try to live that way and wonder why they feel lonely and disconnected. Humans are social creatures. That's just biology. Even the most independent person still benefits from having some kind of connection with others. The difference is that a Sigma doesn't need validation or approval from social hierarchies. He doesn't need to be liked by everyone. He doesn't need to be the most popular person in the room. He doesn't need the group's acceptance to feel secure in himself. But that's different from not needing people at all. A Sigma might have a few close connections, people he trusts and values. He just doesn't need a whole network of social relationships to define his worth or his place in the world. He's selective, not isolated. The guys claiming Sigma status are often doing something else entirely. They're isolating themselves and calling it independence. They're cutting off connections because they think that's what being strong means. They're sitting alone every night, feeling lonely, but telling themselves they're being Sigma. The irony is that most of these guys then go online to forums and communities to talk about being Sigma males with other people who claim to be Sigma males. They're seeking validation for not seeking validation. They're forming social groups around the idea of not needing social groups. If you step back and look at it, it's almost funny. A real Sigma isn't trying to prove he doesn't need anyone. He just lives his life and connects with people when it makes sense to him, without needing those connections to validate his existence. And that right there, that quiet independence, is what the original idea was actually about. What Sigma actually means. The original concept of a Sigma male was pretty straightforward. It describes someone who doesn't fit into the traditional alpha-beta social hierarchy. Not because he can't, but because he doesn't want to or need to. He's not competing for the top spot. He's not following someone else's lead. He's just doing his own thing outside the whole structure. These are people who genuinely don't care about status or social climbing. A Sigma doesn't need to be the boss, but he also doesn't need a boss telling him what to do. He's comfortable working alone or in small groups. He doesn't need constant social interaction to feel fulfilled. He makes his own path without needing approval or permission from others. He has his own internal compass, and he follows it regardless of what the social world around him expects. That's actually pretty rare. Most people do care about status to some degree. Most people do want to belong to some kind of group. Most people do seek approval from others, even if they don't want to admit it. And that's normal. That's how humans have survived for thousands of years. There's nothing wrong with it. The problem is that now everyone who doesn't want to compete in the traditional workplace hierarchy thinks they're Sigma, the guy who got passed over for a promotion and decided he never wanted it anyway, Sigma male. The guy who doesn't like going to networking events, Sigma male. The guy who prefers working from home, Sigma male. But preference isn't the same as genuinely not caring. And opting out because you're uncomfortable is different from opting out because you truly don't see the value in it. One is avoidance, the other is choice. They might lead to the same behavior, but the internal experience is completely different. And that tiny difference, between acting detached and actually being free, is what turned this whole thing into an identity. The appeal of the identity. So why has this become such a popular thing to claim? Why are so many people suddenly Sigma males? Part of it is that it sounds better than the alternatives. Nobody wants to say they're socially awkward. Nobody wants to admit they're struggling to fit in. Nobody wants to call themselves a follower. So instead, they call themselves Sigma males. It reframes everything in a positive light. Can't make friends easily? No problem. You're a Sigma who prefers solitude. Not good at office politics. That's fine. You're a Sigma who doesn't play those games. Don't like going to parties? Perfect. You're a Sigma who doesn't need external validation. It takes all the things that might feel like weaknesses or struggles and turns them into strengths and choices. And look, there's something valuable in reframing your perspective like that. But there's a difference between making peace with who you are and creating an entire identity around avoiding the work of genuine growth and connection. The other appeal is that it's exclusive without requiring anything. You don't have to prove you're a Sigma male. There's no test. There's no certification. You just claim it, and suddenly, you're part of this elite group of independent thinkers and lone wolves. It's status without having to compete for status, which is ironically the exact thing Sigma males are supposed to not care about. The bottom line is this. Social archetypes can be useful for understanding yourself better, but they can also become cages. When you attach too strongly to any identity, you start performing it instead of just being it. And that goes for Sigma males, Alpha males, or any other social archetype you want to name. Just be yourself. Figure out what works for you. Build the life you want. Connect with people when you want to. Spend time alone when you need to. Learn about these concepts if they interest you. But don't get so caught up in them that you forget to actually live. Because at the end of the day, it's not about what you call yourself. It's about how you actually live your life. If you've watched all the way through, that says something about you. Most people click away the moment they hear something that challenges them. But you stayed, which means you're actually interested in understanding yourself, not just being entertained. If you had to choose one reason that explains why you keep your circle small, what would it be? Drop it in the comments. And if you found value in this, hit subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Thanks for watching. And if you want to keep going, the next video on screen is the perfect one to watch next.